Okay, so I feel this is another wonderful opportunity to record another What I Am Learning, so another Will. I was just thinking about this when I went inside. I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to record this, and it's I've talked a little bit about this, so this is an expansion or an extension of what I've talked about before. And so what I said before, I'm going to try and make this one as concise and as clear and concise and just right to the point as possible. And so hopefully this will be a shorter video, but still jam-packed with just a lot of good learning lessons. But what I said before and what I've talked about in terms of like the state of impoverishment is, oh goodness, you're in a very, if you're able to see it, if your mindset has changed, you're going to realize that you're actually in a very advantageous position. And I think of like, say and I think I've revealed this before, but say like a student that desires to be a good teacher, you first have to learn how to be a good student. And once you learn how to be a good student, that actually sets the platform or sets the foundation for you to properly learn how to be a good, effective teacher. So the one precedes the other, and the other must be entered into through humility and in the appropriate time, meaning you can't force yourself into it. You have to mature into that, into the next level or the next position. And it's the same thing like with what I'm going through and what I'm experiencing right now. When I guess I want to talk a little bit more about that. I was thinking about this when I was coming outside, and I was thinking, you know, perhaps this isn't common knowledge to others, so it might be worth its while for me to share it. But just because you perceive that you're a good student does not mean you're a good student. So somebody might like if you go to class and say you're rebellious and you're focused more, like your priorities for going to class is more of, you know, it's just you're just looking to get a degree so you can, you know, like do this and that, and that's your prerogative. When I say a good student, I mean somebody that's hungry and thirsting for knowledge, and they're there to also it's not just to receive and comprehend and then attain and carry forward with them like that knowledge and that understanding, but also their desire is to be a blessing to the teacher, to help the teacher, to reveal to the teacher if there's any blind spots that the teacher has that they're privy to have that level of communication and respect where they can share those things in a positive way, in an unforceful way where they can, you know, try to add value to the overall climate and atmosphere in that classroom and the way the information is being dispensed. They understand that the teacher is going to have a lot of different blind spots, and there's, you know, the teacher is trying to present information to a multitude of varying you know, levels of aptitudes, varying levels of you know, attention, and also folks that have grown up believing, well, this is the way I learn, and other folks growing up believing, well, I learn this way and I learn that way. So there's going to be many different learning styles that the teacher is teaching to. However, so the student, though, that maybe is a little more self-focused, they might be a little more vain, they might think of themselves in a higher state than they actually are. That's not what I'm labeling a good student. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So the good student actually, you know, humbles themselves when they're in there, and they're there to learn. And if they do have understanding or knowledge, they're not going to allow that to puff them up so they feel superior, or to use it to dominate or to force on anyone else. But they learn how to properly articulate it, present it, you know, at the right time and in the right atmosphere, and then to leave it there so they don't take personal offense. If it's taken and it's well received and it's implemented, that's wonderful. But if it's not taken and it's not well received, it's equally wonderful, because their desire was just to present it, and they respect that the teacher is seeing things from a different perspective, a perspective that they're unable to see, and the teacher is reading, you know, the atmosphere in accordance to, could this is it plausible for me to implement this? Is it not plausible for me to implement this? So they're respectful to that, and it doesn't change. the way and the approach that they have. Okay, so that being said, when God has a vision for you, and when you're going towards anything in this life, it's wise to take the position of humility in a position where you're at the you're not at the forefront, and then you learn, and you can learn what's going on before you, but most importantly, you can learn how to be a good recipient of the things that you desire and you feel called and led to move into. So a pastor, for example, if you have the calling from God on your life to be a pastor, you've received it from the Lord, you've received confirmation, it's wise to take a position of humility and first ask the Lord, who is a good pastor, who is a pastor that you've anointed, and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal to you the pastor. And then when the Holy Spirit's revealed to you that pastor, then go and then sit and humble yourself and learn from the good things that they're doing, equally learn from the bad things that they're doing, and understand that what you're learning is simply just your perception. As you mature, as you grow, you might realize, oh, I thought these were like the really positive things from him and these were the negative things from him. Now I'm starting to learn that as I grow and I mature, the things that I thought were negative were actually positives. I just wasn't at a level of maturation where I could see them and I could understand that they were actually positive for me. I thought they were a little too rigid. I thought they were a little too this, a little too that. But now that he's matured me, as in God's matured me, I realize that no, they're not too rigid. In fact, my former way of thinking was too rigid. So then you have an understanding of, how people change, and their initial perception might not be in alignment with the truth that God is going to purify them and lead them to, and the understanding that he's going to bring them to in the future. So you might face a lot of rejection, and and just because you face rejection, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should doubt and question what you're doing. It could just be that person is not yet at a level of proper understanding. So that student, or that the one who is being trained to be a pastor, for example, can then learn, like, well, how do I deal with this? Father, I have all these emotions inside, these thoughts and these feelings, but I'm going to go and I'm going to seek quiet time with you, and I am not going to be ruled by the flesh, nor am I going to be ruled by this emotional state and be impulsive. I'm going to allow you to let the smoke clear, and then allow you just to tell me what the next step is. And then when I perform the next step, I might not agree with it, I might not comprehend it, it could be this, that, or the other, but I'm learning to hear your voice and then be obedient to your voice. And then I watch how things constantly change, and they constantly change, but you're constantly changing me, so I'm like releasing more and more control, which means I'm trusting you. I'm trusting God with more and more. But anyway, so when you're going through these situations, so this situation here, we'll call it homelessness, we'll call it impoverishment. There's a lot of things. There's been abuse. There's been a lot of things that have been occurring. It's wise to humble yourself and to learn, and to embrace everything as a learning lesson, and then to take the position of a student and understand that these things, if I'm able to properly learn from them, are going to be the very same things that position me into the next position, or that qualify me to be able to sit in that next position, or qualify me to be seen by others who are in the next position to say, oh, this person seems like they're fully trusting God and they've matured in this way and that way and that way. God, what do you say about them? Okay, you said that that you've called them for this. Okay, I'm going to wait for your timing. Okay, now you said that this is their time, your timing. Now I'm going to call them forth. And I can do it with the self-assuredness that, not the self-assuredness, with the assuredness that I've received this from you. I've received confirmation from you. So I'm not going to depend on what my eyes see, because you look at the heart. So I'm depending on what you're sharing with me. So it's easy to see that from that perspective, but it's often difficult to see that from the perspective of, the student. So it's so wise though to humble yourself and just to delightfully and joyfully go through this process and learn how to better take care of those that are going through this process, learn how to better speak to those who are going through this process, learn like the things that you're doing where if you get impatient and then you want to control something, how much you respect when somebody is in leadership over you and they simply listen to what you're saying and they hear what you're saying, then they take it to the Lord and they say, I'm sorry, I don't think that's the right thing to do in this moment. And then learn how angry and upset you can get and how you can be convinced you're right. And then a month, 2 months, 2 years, 10 years down the road, you're purified into into a different, deeper level of maturation, and then you look back, or the Holy Spirit can bring that situation up to your remembrance, and you think, oh my goodness, I was convinced I was right. I was convinced that what they were doing was wrong, but now I understand that from their perspective, they're seeing things from a different perspective than I was seeing things. They're seeing things from a lot of different moving parts, and I believe they made the right decision. I was actually wrong. And if they had submitted to me, that would mean that they would bow to the fear of man. And so I'm very thankful that I have a leader that demonstrated to not bow to the fear of man, but to remain firm with and gentle with what the Lord is speaking, and to continue going on and moving forward in obedience to what the Lord is speaking. That is the most wonderful teachable lesson. And you'll also learn that perhaps everybody will leave them, but they still need to remain firm to what the Lord is speaking and obedient to what he's saying. So anyway, so it's taking that position of a student, taking that position of like a very not only promising student, but the best student that you could be, the student that goes in and is very intentional with their time, why they're there. They go in with the hunger and thirst to learn and to learn as much, and then also to chew on what they've learned and receive as much comprehension, because they want to apply what they've received, and they understand how beneficial what they've received is going to be for them in their future. They have an understanding of how to create the proper atmosphere that's conducive to draw out the passion and the knowledge from the teacher. So they're going to receive that understanding because they're sitting in that position of a really good, astute student. And so then when they are called up to be a teacher, all these things that they've learned are now going to be of a great benefit, because other students that have the same mind frame that are following behind them, they're going to be even more prepared and well suited to be able to meet those needs, to bring the next generation up to that level, and to instill these learning lessons, this knowledge and this wisdom for those that hunger and thirst for his knowledge. And oh my goodness, and they're going to be able to do it from experiential understanding, meaning that understanding is ingrained within them, and they won't doubt what they're receiving, what they're promoting. They're going to have an inside scoop as well. When they're a student, they're going to know, what foolish talk can occur with other students. They're going to know the different distractions that other students might have. They're going to know the different arguments and the root cause of different arguments from other students, because they're going to be around them as peers, and those peers will reveal different things to them because they're looked upon as a peer, whereas when they're looked upon as a teacher, those things are going to be omitted from them. So they're going to have deeper levels of understanding to the conflicts that can occur within the classroom, and then how to properly navigate around these things to ensure that their teaching is always geared towards the ones that desire to learn, the ones that desire to grow, the ones that actually want the information that's being spoken. So anyway, so I was just thinking, this is all part of a mindset. And when you're going through these things, if I can speak his encouragement into your heart, go through them joyfully, and go through them with an attitude of learning. And if you make a mistake, just admit that mistake and then ask for the resolution, ask for the learning lesson immediately, and then you can apply that learning lesson immediately, and then you're always learning and you're always growing. And yeah, it's with that perception, oh my goodness, you realize the potential in a moment, and you realize the building blocks, like everything follows a specific order. And yeah, anyways, I'm very happy to share that with you in this moment.